Good morning, Internet. It's a beautiful, beautiful, bright sunny day. Started off cold, but now it's beautiful. In fact, I'm just about ready to get rid of my sweatshirt. It was in the 40s this morning, which for Zone 10 in Florida in March is way below normal. Actually, we were about 10 degrees below normal. But it's not abnormal. It's happened before, and it will happen again. In this video, I wouldn't call it an emergency repot, but I want to get this azalea into a bigger pot. It has grown into this pot very nicely. And because it's so long, and it's so long that you don't even see the entire tree in the shot, I'm going to put it into the pot that it's behind. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of the wire, because I don't think the wire is necessary anymore. And if the branches bounce back a little, they can always be wired again. Come on, thank you. And I need to spin this guy around this way so I can get to this piece of wire. Try to keep my fingers on the wire where I'm pulling it away from the bark so it doesn't twist. Okay, I think that's good. And if we inspect it for some wire scars, we'll find that there's a couple little places, but they don't really look like wire scars more than just regular plain old scars. And old trees have scars. Old people have scars. I could show you plenty of scars of my own. Okay. So now if we look at the roots, let me get my scissors. It's getting pretty nice nabari. All this here, looking pretty nice. But we have some, so this root here is going to come off because it's actually a circling root. This tree was in a 4-inch pot, and you can almost see the exact extent of where those roots hit that pot. So here's another one that comes here, and then it starts to shoot sideways. So I'm going to take it off, and I'm not going to remove the roots that are underneath. And here's another surface root here, that right there, that little tiny root. Get that stuff off of there. So I'm going to cut that away like that. And then there's another one up in here. Right there that I want to remove. Because removing them when the tree is young like this will keep me from having to remove them when the tree is older, because if you don't want circling roots, you got to get rid of them as soon as you can. Here's another one. But like I said, I'm not going to go down into the pot and remove those roots. So how are we doing? Here's a couple that are, this one is going over the other one. So if I'm killing roots underneath by cutting these, like, okay, so I cut this one to there, and there's a root that used to be fed by this guy, they will just die and add some organic matter to the soil. It's not that crucial that I take all that stuff out of there. So that's looking pretty good. I really do like this part of the Nabari, which is the front of the tree, so it's just really pretty. And we have a much, much larger root right there, which will probably begin to surface. So I'm pretty happy with that. And then the rest of the procedure is just going to be put it into this bigger pot. Oh, sorry. And I'm not calling this an emergency repot, but I need to do it because it's just staying so dry in this pot. It's really rooted out quite nicely, and it's just almost constantly dry. And also you notice it's kind of wobbly, so I'm going to weigh it down once it gets into this pot with some rocks, and these are some big old rocks. And I don't want to wire it into the pot. So I've got my soil, got my pot, the drain holes, and it's a used pot. It has a little bit of dirt left in it. It's a pretty pot. I think it's well, there's the chop mark. If you can read that chop mark, which I can't. That's where the pot's from. So I'm using bonsai soil, although directly around the roots is still the organic soil that it was growing in. Okay, so let's pop it out of there. And then I like to soften up the edge like this, usually just with my fingers. That's all you really need. And I'm not going to do any kind of chopping this way because it's already pretty shallow. I mean, it's pretty shallow. And this is a little bit of an oddball tree because I like my trees to go from left to right. But this one is going from right to left. But because of the way the canopy is positioned, I don't think that's going to be that big of a deal. And who knows, one day I may even turn it around. Okay. So I want my tree to be about 1/3 from one side and about 2/3 from the other. So that makes it more balanced. And then I think I want it to be up a little bit more, so I'm going to lift it up and push some soil under there. You know, and every time you repot a tree, you have the opportunity to change a lot of things about it. So the fact that this may not be exactly where I want it is not an issue for me. The biggest issue is getting it into a bigger pot so it's got room for the roots to grow and it doesn't dry out so quickly. Because azaleas have 0 drought tolerance. I mean 0. If they dry out once, all you're left with is the pot and the carcass. And that's because they're understory plants in forest areas where it's very shady and evaporation is kept to a minimum in those environments. So the trees have evolved. And it's kind of like, you know, the Led Zeppelin song, Misty Mountain Hop. That's where they grow, in those misty mountains where it's always kind of misty and rainy and moist. So, okay, so how does that look? So I have 2 rocks, and they're both chunky, but that ought to help it stay in place. It works. Whatever works. Alright, now let's get rid of some of the debris, and I'm dealing with just an amazing amount of leaf drop from my oak trees. So when we take this guy away here, you'll see what I mean. They're just all over, just everywhere. Alright, so there we go. Do we have the whole tree in the... Not entirely. Let me see if I can just move the tree back. See if we can't get the whole thing in there. That's pretty good. Still not the entire tree. It's a wide tree, but I kind of like it like that. So there we go. Repotting of an azalea. And like I said, I don't want to call it an emergency repot, but I just really need to make sure it stays a little more moist than it was. It was just drying out so quickly. And you can see there's a whole bunch of new growth all up and down, even on the end. I mean, so here's the end. And I would be pinching the ends off to promote, this stuff here. The tree probably needs to be higher, so all this stuff into here, all this stuff in here needs to be up like this. And so it's going to be a very wide, kind of rounded crown. And I'm looking forward to developing this guy. It's a pretty nice tree. I like it. So that's why I want it to survive. And even though I'm out here all the time and I water all the time, there's been a couple of times just in the past few days. I don't know if I mentioned it in this video, but in the last video, yesterday we had a red flag warning for fire weather. It was super sunny, super windy, and incredibly low humidity. So I watered my entire collection twice yesterday because things just dried out so fast. So there we go. One azalea, repot. Looking for great things from this tree. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. If you haven't already subscribed, please hit the notification bell after you press the subscribe. And leave a comment. I know there are other people that have YouTube channels that use rocks to stabilize their bonsai too. So sometimes it's just a lot easier, both on the tree and on me, to use rocks like this versus wiring the tree into place. And this is a mass-produced pot, so it has 2 drain holes, but it doesn't have any wire holes, which is typical of a mass-produced pot. So the rocks work, and I'll be giving you updates on this guy. Obviously it won't bloom again for another year, but I'll still be giving you updates as it grows and matures, and I continually keep pinching off. Here comes my hat. There's beautiful new growth right here, beautiful new growth right here. So anyway, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.